I may not be super duper 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 Christian on the surface yet, but that DNA of Christ Jesus is living in me, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So take that. You got it? I yield my mind to you. I give you thanks. I give you the praise and the glory. And we welcome all the YouTubers from around the world to Spirit Life Worship Church. And all of God's people said a big amen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to talk today about renewing your mind. But I have a completely different twist on it than probably the average person has heard. It's something that has revolutionized my heart. I want you to open your Bibles, please, to Romans chapter 12 and verse number 1. I'm going to read this to you in the King James Version. Whatever version that you're reading at from home or here, we're going to put that right up on the screen for you too, in the King James Version. You ready? Let's read this out loud. And verse number 1, I'm going to interrupt from time to time, so don't get annoyed at me. I'm going to interrupt and interject. Amen? I beseech you, therefore, comma, brethren. So who is he referring to? Who is he speaking to? The brethren. Of the what? Of the church. He's not speaking to the world. He's speaking to the brethren. You've got to just remind you now, chapter 12, that therefore in there means he is therefore saying, in summary of the first 11 chapters, I therefore beseech you, based on everything that I have told you in the first 11 chapters of my letter, which, by the way, there were no chapters when he wrote that letter. It was one continuous letter. So he's saying, as part of that letter, he didn't write chapter 12 on his letter. He says, I beseech you, therefore, my brethren, by the mercies of God, read it with me, that you present your what? Bodies a living, not a dead sacrifice. Pay attention. He could have said a dead sacrifice. He could have mentioned bulls and goats and rams. He knew that. He came from that heritage. He said, I ask you to present your bodies now a living sacrifice, comma, holy, comma, acceptable, comma, which is your reasonable service. Now, keep this in mind, right? Israel and he himself offered dead sacrifices. We, believers, oftentimes offer dead sacrifices from time to time. Amen? Christians, he's saying, must offer themselves on the altar of a living sacrifice. Now, what does this have to do with renewing your mind? I'm going to tell you in just a moment if you would stay with me. Amen? Amen. Israel brought, and again, Paul knew this because Paul was an Israelite who was born again. Israel brought mandatory sacrifices to the altar. Amen? Christians now bring themselves to the altar. That's what he's saying here. So stay with me. Let me read this to you in the Mike Derosh version. I urge you, my brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, please present now yourselves a living, breathing sacrifice to God, which is holy through him, acceptable by him. This is your reasonable, expected service. Do this. 2. Read it with me. And be not conformed to this world. What does that word conformed mean? Be not conformed to the standards of this world. Just because the world is doing it, don't be conformed to that. Don't say that because everybody else is doing it, I'm going to do it. Don't be conformed to that. Okay, this gets the meaty part now, right? Okay, semicolon. Read this with me. But be you Transformed. Transformed. By the, comma, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and the perfect will of God. I mean, you can't get any better than that. The perfect will of God. One, don't conform to the standards of this world, and be transformed now. By the what? By the renewing of your mind. Put your hands on your head, say, Lord Jesus, by your Spirit, I want to be transformed today through the renewing of my mind. Now, listen to me. That brain of yours, that head that you just put your hands on, includes intellect. But it goes way, way, way beyond intellect. Your mind is more than your IQ. It's more than your ability to understand complex problems. Algebra, chemistry, yuck. How many people in here are good at math? I know Terry's going to wave his hand. This guy's a professor here. Forget it. But way beyond Terry's IQ, his mind has also, like our minds, been darkened by sin. It's been darkened from the inside out. So what do people do when they've been darkened from the outside in? They put on makeup. When their lives have been darkened, when people don't like their exterior appearances, what do? We put on clothing, we put on makeup, right? We lose some weight. Amen? The Greek word for transformed in Romans chapter 12:2. Does anybody know what that word transformed means in Greek? Metamorphosis. 10 points for Maryland. Listen to this. Metamorphosis. Let's read it again with that word injected in there. And be not conformed to this world, but be metamorphosized, if there's such a word. What does metamorphosis mean? Now, metamorphosis is the process by which a caterpillar, stay with me now, don't you dare wander off now. Metamorphosis is a process by which a caterpillar becomes a tadpole becomes a gradually. It is not that the caterpillar changes its DNA. It doesn't change its nature. But listen to this. Listen to what the Holy Spirit showed me the other day. And wait till I get to the other pages here. It's incredible. Metamorphosis reveals what was always there in the beginning. In other words, the metamorphosis reveals what was always in the DNA of the caterpillar before it became a butterfly. Are you with me? Now, caterpillars can fly. Oh, yes, they can. It's in their DNA. They were born to fly. But they have not yet had the renewing, the metamorphosis of the transformation yet. So how do you solve this incredible mystery of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly and a tadpole becoming a frog and a person becoming a born-again believer? It's called transformation. Okay, let's use this new word you just learned, metamorphosis. Listen, metamorphosis means changing the form, but not the person. Are you awake? Can I hear an amen to that? That one was 25 points right there. I'm writing that down. Okay, say changing the form, but not the person. Okay, so before you got born again, right, you were the same in the form. You were the same. You had 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 eyes, 2 ears, a nose, and a mouth. But as you were transformed, that same form, right, revealed the essence of what was already inside of you through, amen, the renewing of the mind by the word of the living God. It doesn't change the essence of who you were. You were created before the foundations of the world to be a child of God. In fact, you were created in His image. Tadpoles become frogs. They don't become butterflies. Only a caterpillar can become a butterfly. And only a born-again believer is transformed from being just an ordinary man. Are you with me? Now, this is something that I have never quite seen reading this verse as many times as I have read it. Wait, it even gets better. Metamorphosis, say that with, say metamorphosis. In fact, that's what really should be here in the Bible, by the way. Say metamorphosis reveals my essential character of what was put in there by my Creator before the foundations of the world. Isn't that incredible? Now that's powerful. Now that changes the game now. That changes the game. So instead of saying, I must renew my mind by reading the Word, which I fully agree with, I was created in the image of God to be transformed in His image from what I was created to be to what I am now. However, I have allowed my mind to be darkened by sin. So in fact, I have only got one butterfly, one wing out of that cocoon. Amen? Amen. Are you with me? Okay. Now I want to show you something incredible. Look at Mark chapter 9. Mark chapter 9 and verse number 2. This is powerful. This is so powerful. This has so liberated me personally. And I teach these things because they liberate me. I want you to be liberated too. Amen? Amen. All right, Mark chapter 9, verse 2. Can you read it with me? It's better if you read it with me. You make me feel happier. Amen? After 6 days, Jesus taketh with him Peter and James and John, and leadeth them up in 2 high mountains, apart by themselves, and they were... Stop, wrong word. He turned from a caterpillar to a butterfly, from a tadpole to a frog. I mean, no disrespect by saying that, but that's what happened. There was a metamorphosis that transitioned. Verse 3, here is what he turned into, but he always is. He didn't just become that, he always was. That's the DNA inside of him. And his raiment became exceedingly white as snow, so as no fuller on earth can white them. The glory of God shined from the inside out of Jesus. And the glory of God transformed his humanity into divinity before their very eyes. Think of this. When the Lord was being metamorphosized, he did not cease to be Jesus. Did he? He did not cease to be a man. And when the Holy Spirit begins to metamorphosize you, you do not cease to be Michael, Anita, Barbara. No, you do not cease to be what he created you to be from the beginning. You did not cease to be a man, but the glory of God that has been inside of you from the foundations of the world. Amen. Are you with me? Okay, that should give you some comfort. You got it? Yes. He was still the same Jesus that had been moments before. But for a brief moment, the curtain of humanity was pulled back. And James and Peter and John saw who Jesus was created to be before the foundations of the world, and they looked at him and they lived. In that moment, they saw the real Jesus. In that brief moment, they saw the real Jesus. He lit up. He did not cease to be a man. He did not cease to be Jesus. But the true identity, the DNA, spiritual DNA, was revealed from the inside out. The Holy Spirit revealed the inner man. Can I hear a big, big amen today? So this is comforting, isn't it? So because sin has darkened our minds, there's something we must do by faith to apprehend this. It's not like the caterpillar was never a butterfly. But through metamorphosis, gradual change, by the hand of God, the caterpillar becomes what it was always intended to be. As you sit there in these seats this morning, you remember something. This is who you were intended to be from the beginning of the foundations of the world. You're being metamorphosized. You're being transformed by the renewing of your mind. Somebody said the other day, you have to read the Word by being transformed. It's a good start, but you have to know Jesus. He is the living Word, more powerful than this printed page that fell on the floor. This is limited. This paper, not only is it disintegrating now, one day will disintegrate. So we are transformed, metamorphosized by blocking out the darkness of sin in our mind through the power of the Holy Spirit. Are you with me? Say, I am a child of God. From the foundations of the world. And I am metamorphosizing in Jesus' name. Is that a right word, Terry? Metamorphosizing? Okay, good. I thought I made it up. Amen. Amen. I'm all worn out up here. I'm pulling it. I want you to know how much God loves you. I want to know that He loves you, and that even though maybe you think yourself slightly disfigured in this humanity, remember this: inside of you lives what you were created to be. It's living inside of you. And sometimes we before the very eyes of people, we transform into the image that God created us to be. And sometimes we act like knuckleheads, amen? But that's okay too. Look at 1 Corinthians 2:16. Amen. 1 Corinthians 2:16. I want you to read this out loudly with me, please. I hope you people at home are being blessed by this in Jesus' name. All right, verse 16. 1 Corinthians 2:16. For who has known the mind of the Lord, that he may be instructed by him? Come on, shout this one out. But we have the mind of Christ. We have it. We have it. I failed algebra for 4 years. I couldn't get it. I thought I was a dummy. They told me I was a dummy, but I'm not a dummy. I can't figure that stuff out. It doesn't take away the fact that I have the mind of Christ. I don't think Jesus could do algebra either. I don't even know if he liked that. Amen. Say, I have the mind of Christ. We're not talking about IQ here. When we come to Christ, stay with me, pay attention, look up here. You, look here. When we come to Jesus Christ, I say we come when He calls you. You already have the DNA of the mind of Christ in you. Like the caterpillar has the DNA to fly, and the tadpole has the DNA to hop. That's an awesome thought, isn't it? Say, I have the mind of Christ. Say, I have the mind of Christ. Now, I hope that by you repeating it, you're just not trying to talk yourself into it. Listen, by faith, you have the mind of Christ. That's an awesome thought. Now, stay with me. This is something else that he showed me the other day. This I shouted out when I was reading this. First time I've ever seen this revelation. We have the mind of Christ so that we know our Creator within us. Amen. Somebody say, wow. We have, not my IQ, we've been given the mind of Christ so that I know that Jesus is my Lord within me. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Now there's another account in the scriptures that affirms this metamorphosis. First time that I've ever, when I took that word transformation out, when I took that word out and I put metamorphosis in, it made sense to me. Let's do it again. 2 Corinthians 3. It says here, now the Lord is that, what? The Lord is Spirit. And where? Come on. Yeah, there is liberty. All right. That's good. So we know the Lord is the Spirit, and that Spirit lives inside of us. Verse 18, but we all, comma, with open face, beholding as in a glass, the glory of the Lord, are... No, wrong word. Metamorphosized, pasteurized, homogenized. Wings. Come on. We are metamorphosized into the same image from glory to glory to glory. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. And how are we done? How is this done? By the Spirit of the Lord. Wow. The DNA of Christ is in me. I may not look like a butterfly right now, but I am a child of God. I am His righteousness. I can fly like an eagle, whether you think yes, I can. I may not be super duper Christian on the surface yet, but that DNA of Christ Jesus is living in me, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So take that. You got it? See, some people don't realize they're in the process of being metamorphosized. They want to be super duper Christians tomorrow. Now, don't overlook the fact that our mind, stay with me, that our mind, not our IQ, our mind must be metamorphosized. It goes way beyond mathematical problems. Your mind is more than your IQ. Your mind is more than the ability to understand complex problems and complex questions. Say, my mind has been darkened because of sin. Close your eyes. Just get that in your mind. My mind has been darkened because of sin. This is where the problem is. First of all, although your mind has been darkened because of sin, I am still a butterfly. I am still a butterfly. That's a life-changing revelation. So, look here. You don't have to give up drinking. You don't have to give up smoking. You don't have to give up gambling. You don't have to say, I'm never going to be a jerk again. You don't ever have to do that. Because we're changed from the inside out. We are changed from the inside out, not the outside in. You don't have to give anything up. If you are truly, from the bottom of your heart, seeking to live a Christian life, all those things, drinking, smoking, and things, from living that life will fall away. The world will give you up. I'm telling you, church, you don't have to give these things up. You are a butterfly in Jesus' name. That's what my dad used to tell me all the time. Son, you don't have to give anything up. The world will give you up. The more you transform into the image of Christ. That takes the pressure off. I said, that takes the pressure off. How many people have tried and failed at being a good person? You know, your New Year's resolution, I'm going to lose weight. You join the gym, right? I'm going to be kinder to people. It's going to change all over. That's the wrong change. All you've got to do is seek Jesus. And through the process of metamorphosis, instead of being Clark Kent, the goofy Clark Kent, the nerdy Clark Kent, beneath that veneer and that clothing lies a big fat S, and it's called Superman. Amen? The world says separate from these things and separate from these people and stop doing these terrible things. No! I beseech you, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your body a living sacrifice, holy and accepted. Holy? The only thing holy about me are my socks. No, we are holy through Him. Amen. Don't be conformed to this world. Be metamorphosized. Amen. Be metamorphosized. How? By the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. The world says, give up smoking, give up drinking, give up these things, don't they? Are you guys awake? No. Becoming a new creation in Christ is so different. Meeting Christ Jesus and accepting Him as your Savior doesn't mean you have to give a single thing up. No more New Year's resolutions, because you will make one and break one and feel worse than before. When I place my mind, not my intellect, when I place my mind on Christ, that DNA that's been in me from the foundations of the world gets all shook up and comes alive. And these things will give you up. I promise you. And when they've given you up, not only does metamorphosis change you from a caterpillar to a butterfly, but did you know you can't change from a butterfly to a caterpillar? I don't think you heard that one. Well, I don't care. I'm going to say it again. through the greatness of God, a caterpillar was born to be a butterfly. Jesus was born to die. Caterpillar metamorphosizes into a butterfly, and a Christian metamorphosizes from a sinner to a brother in the Lord. But you can't go backwards. A frog can't go back to be a tadpole. Wow. Wow. A butterfly can't change its mind and say, I want to be a caterpillar again. And a Christian can never go back. Because you have the mind of Christ. Now let me say this and give you some comfort. The more and more you find yourself and recognize the process of metamorphosis taking place in your life, don't be discouraged. The Holy Spirit will dig out of you the desires for these things of the world. He'll bring light to the dark places of your mind. He'll transform you from the inside out. So, Pastor, what do I do? How do I do this? You don't have to do nothing. The caterpillar doesn't have to do a thing. Does he? Does the tadpole have to do anything? And while this metamorphosis is taking place, God is standing there and pouring the Spirit of His Son in your heart. And He's changing you from the inside out. Until that glorious day when you, like the butterfly, sees what He created you to be from the foundations of the world. Pastor, is it important to read the Word? Absolutely. I don't mean read the Word to read the Word. I mean ingest it. Worship is so important. Love is so important. Forgiveness is so important. And be not conformed to the standards of this world, but be metamorphosized by the renewing of your mind that's been there from the foundations of the world, that you may be proved what is good and acceptable and the perfect will of God. Now that deserves a big amen. 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 Stand on your feet. Hallelujah. Yes, I hope this video was a blessing to you. And if it was, please don't forget to subscribe below and put your comments down there as well. Also, if you are interested in making a donation to this ministry, please go ahead in the description box. There's a link down there for you to make your donation. Also, please check out our website. It's also in the description box as well. May God bless you. Thank you for watching. See you around.
Let you guys go without giving the opportunity to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Please feel free to contact us at www.spiritlifeworshipchurch.com. Our phone number is 386-586-2202. And our service begins 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings. Can't wait to see you guys. God bless.